pitch time.
Everybody does a little pitch unless we've already. There's been a lot. We've kind of worked in a lot of pitch.
Yeah, we have.
A lot. So, do you
Yeah.
want to just go straight to questions?
Titles and costs, and then we go to the questions.
Okay, that's fair. My books are $15 each. 2 for $25 as a sale price, and I also have the audiobook version of all 3 of my novels available. They're $20, but you get to keep the little thumb drive and you can play it, wherever.
Okay. Once again, The Eye of Hermes and the Nerve novel, which hopefully will be a series someday. $10.
Bumpy Night on the Walk of Fame, and it is available through Kobe, which is now you can get at Walmart e-store, and of course through Barnes & Noble, and Nook, and Amazon Kindle. And my cards and my postcards have the ISBN number, and it is $5.99. The virtue of being an ebook.
Yeah.
$14.95 on Amazon. $13 here and $10 for the Kickstarter version that has a few small mistakes in it. Nothing that impacts the story, just a dropped word here, maybe a missed comment there. It won't kill you. You might actually enjoy finding the movie. And I've had people actually buy go, I love finding discrepancies. I'm like, oh, you're a mismatcher, aren't you? Here, have a book. And so in the back, feel free to join me.
That's cute. This is The Horror Addict's Guide to Life. This is actually a nonfiction anthology. It's $10 today, and it has some recipes, some history of horror film. That's the section that I did, actually. There's some fashion tips and humor and all kinds of creepy crawly things inside.
The first book of the Earthchild trilogy, Earthchild, the Edie Piper Chronicles, which introduces you to Allura and the world of shapeshifting. $10. The sequel, where you get to meet Kyle. Yes, she is not alone. Is $12. Rabbit's Tail again is $12. I did not talk that much about my science fiction novels. They're each $15, but the premise for the first book, which ended up saying we're not done, write some more, tell us some more about, we're not done telling our stories, and then which is where the sequels came in. What if you were driving down a deserted road and you found a body? What if the man was still alive? What if he wasn't human? What would you do? So, Earthchild, I'm sorry, Warrior Heart, they're all warrior something, because the man who's not human happens to be an alien, and although he's human enough, he has some discrepancies in his culture which makes him hard to get along with. Warrior Heart, Warrior Spirit is the second book, and Warrior Ordeal is the third. And at some point, as juggling balls, I will get to the next book, which is Warrior Fury. Telling you, these characters, they come alive and they just
Good reflex.
they want to go somewhere. So they're each 15.
All right. So does anybody have any questions for all this panel? Yes.
I guess how you reach your pricing mode, like is it input from, how do you come to your conclusion of what you want to charge for it? And is this lucrative besides serving your higher goal, which is the reason you want to write?
Or
and then one more would be
Egos,
which is not maybe as relevant to this panel, except that you did say you have a pen name. But I guess to everyone, what can be said about, like especially if you do something very personal using a pen name, any feedback on that?
Well, as far as the pricing for mine, I kind of went by what your standard trade paperback goes for. They're usually $14.95 or so. Some of the smaller ones will be less, but I looked at like what I would have to charge to turn some kind of a profit. So, that's pretty much what
Standard business sense.
went with that, where I at least make a few dollars on each book, that I sell. So it covers, it covers the costs and whatnot. So I wouldn't say it's highly lucrative.
Yeah, right. With Amazon through CreateSpace, they will, depending on the length of the book, the number of pages, when you set up for pricing, they will tell you that you must charge at least this much. And that basically is so they can recoup their own costs in the printing, shipping, and whatever of getting the book out to somebody who's buying online. So that's sort of a starter. And yeah, the price for the author to buy it, there's the cost to print, ship, taxes. Now we're getting charged for any online sales, even if they're to us that we then have to sell out and charge sales tax for. So that's the basis for at least what it costs you. Then you have to figure in business cards or whatever, the cost of those, and then some sort of a profit margin. So that you kind of work up from there. And then of course the bottom line is, what are people willing to pay for it? You know, if you say, I really want a nice profit margin on this, so I'm going to charge 15, but nobody wants to buy it for 15, but they'll buy it for 12, then you're, okay, well then that's what it should be priced at, because that's the price that people are willing to pay for it. So
I actually would redo that, because I do have the price on the back with my ISBN number, which I would not do again.
right.
Because I think it works in this venue where it's a $15 book, you get it for $13 today,
Right.
and that's great. But online, I could do, you know, sales. I could give out coupons. I could, you know, like,
Right.
it would be so much easier just to leave that fluctuating and leave that point, you know,
Right.
There's
open.
been like pros and cons where you've had a series where the publisher has done the first book free on Amazon for this
Right.
set window, and then buy the next one's this one. So you have to balance of, well, did I lose sales from that? Or yeah, did everybody get the free one? And then did that make the second book skyrocket also?
Right.
So it's like, that's another trial and error.
Even where the price is set, which the ebook price pretty much is, you have options for discounting. And there is, has anybody heard of BookBub?
Yeah.
You can mark your book down as low as, like, from $5.99 to 99 cents. And you pay hundreds of dollars for the privilege to BookBub.
Yeah.
And you pay money, and they don't accept everybody. A friend who has hugely successful self-published horror genre has been trying to get in for years. But the exposure is spectacular. And they said, you know, for discounting to that amount of money, you will still earn so much if you get on BookBub, because their exposure is fantastic.
Excuse me, is it book what?
BookBub, B-U-B.
It's a professional marketing website. They have a mailing list that people buy from. You can get on there as just a customer and see what they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
they're
is it
offering
available?
and get books for free or 99 cents. And
Are we professionals?
it can be.
Professional market.
And I mean, I just set my book for $10 because of going to conferences. It's more expedient. You know, you can just give somebody $10 rather than charging like $13.95 and having them try to like.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'll do that.
Yeah.
Change.
I think most of us, when we have to file our taxes quarterly, that the tax is built into the cost of the book.
Right.
So you go use the formula for when you file online for how much of that cost is taxes and how much of that actually was what you sold it for.
Like a lot of times that odd 95, like higher end or the couple few dollars on, is really good if you're at a bookseller doing like a book event in a bookstore where they're going to take the percentage
Yes.
from your day, when it's not just you handing the tens back and forth.
Nice thing about that is they're doing the
Yeah.
taxes.
Yes.
They're paying, you know, they're figuring the sales tax. So.
Yeah. And what was the second one
Pen
about
name.
pen names? What made you choose a pen name?
Just that some of my favorite authors when I was growing up that I idolized, like Mark Twain.
Right.
I can't think of them anymore.
H.H.
John.
Monroe. H.H. Monroe.
Paul San. You know, they always had like these cool like pen names, whatever, you know, like, and I just wanted to be in like the exclusive club, you know, somebody who would have like a pen name or.
His name is Gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, again, that's a school that's ebbed and flowed. I mean, there was a time where when you were an author, you always had a pen name.
Yeah.
Like,
Nom de
Nora Roberts is not really.
Well, especially
Nora,
if you're a woman.
Nora Roberts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And when you're doing genre, yes, that's where the initializing and things
Yep.
come from.
Yep.
Well, I actually have erotica out that is under a pen name, and that was more of the phase where all the publishers were saying, well, everything is branded separately.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, well, this name's horror, that name's erotica. Then there's phases where the publisher says, no, all your handles are under your name,
Yeah, and Rice did the same
your
thing.
real name, that's it.
If you become
You know.
real famous,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
Anne Rice's Sleeping
Anne,
Beauty trilogy, or
Claire,
yes,
yeah.
Anne Rupolar. But that's because back then that was a separate category of her life, and then she was also already writing the vampire
Right.
series.
It
on the
doesn't
other
make sense.
side.
Like then it
Yeah.
became Nora Roberts writing as J.D. Robb.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
well, then
Right.
what is the point of it?
And then, yeah.
Last weekend, an editor was saying the reason for that was that they sold the same. They found it was sort of an artificial barrier. And editors had been advising people, you know, if you write a young adult book, write it under a different name than your mystery series, than your horror series.
Right.
And they started to find that it didn't make any difference. And that's
Right.
why
Yeah.
Nora Roberts' books are the same. Same with Jane Ann Krentz, who wrote as Jane Castle, and she wrote these bodice ripping kind of romance
Yeah.
things. And then she started writing kind of thrillers under her own name.
I mean, it seems almost like a business decision. I mean, again, going back 30 years ago, the publisher couldn't have so many Stephen King books in a month.
Right.
So then, well, he had to use the pen name, and then, well, oh, they didn't sell as well. But then once you put him as Stephen King, they sold
Yeah.
well. And then you're right. And then when you switch genres, well, when the Casual Vacancy came out for what it was, well, it got ho-hum reviews. Well, maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
But then when people found out it was J.K. Rowling, all of a sudden its
Yeah.
sales
Yeah.
skyrocketed,
Right.
but its reviews went down. And it's like, well, you can't compare an adult mystery to Magic Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So it's really, that kind of, again, up in the air kind of decision.
Yeah, I don't think you
And
can
then
base
there's
it all
the
on
other
business
extreme.
model.
Rather than use pen name, Arthur Conan Doyle just killed off his main character, you know, because he just wanted to move on to something else, you know, so he didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
care about like.
Writing typecast.
Mhm,
know?
Yeah.
I think it really comes down to personal preference, because like if that's your whole life is writing, or this is your complete absorption, then by all means use your own name. But for me, my clients know me as Jen Jennings, and I do different things as Jen Jennings. And having, my father's name is J. Evans Jennings, so I gave a little nod to my father, who still doesn't think I have a real job. So I was like, you'll just see, this is gonna be a movie. And so I decided to do J. Lauryl Jennings. That's actually my name. It's just a middle name that I never use and nobody knows it. And so, I figured at least the last name is the same, and it's still part of me. It's a different face that I wear when I do this. So I don't feel like it's a separate creature, and I can still kind of bring it back into myself.
If it makes you feel any better, Henry Mancini's father never thought he had a real job. He won Emmys, he won Grammys,
That's right.
he won
Those
Oscars.
parents,
And his mother thought he was a failure because he never just settled down and worked 9 to 5.
Yeah, I dumped that psychology years ago, so I'm fine with that now. But I tease him.
The last thing about names is that if you're going to go with your own name, it makes sense if you already known by your name somewhere else.
Right.
It goes back to that branding. With my Lady Hawk storytelling, some people, they know the Lady Hawk storytelling before they know my name. Well, I wanted to make sure that my name still counts in whatever I do, whether it's the bracelets or the books or the storytelling, that somewhere they know who I really am. So that they're looking for me, they can find me by my real name. So.
Okay.
Just to add to it, I have a pen name too.
Mm-hmm.
I think social media has had a lot to do with this, everything back in under one name umbrella too, because it's so hard
That interconnection
to,
is.
well, and it's hard to keep everything separate anymore. Like, you're gonna have your same face on all these different names. People are gonna figure it out.
Do they have to?
Why make more work for yourself than
And
you
it's
have to?
also
Yeah.
difficult because then you'd have to have a different,
It's a lot of work to
different
keep up
social
3 different
media
names,
for
so
each
yeah,
name.
websites.
Yeah.
And the
Each
only
page,
time
page,
I
one.
know people who strictly need to do that, there are times when you need to use a pen name. Like, I have friends who are teachers of young children, but they write adult type stuff.
Right,
You
right.
don't want to use your
Yeah.
real name
Yeah.
for doing things like that. Or if you do write things that are vastly different, like you have gory horror stuff, but you also write children's books,
Right,
you don't
right,
want your name
exactly.
on the same thing. But for the most part, I think we're moving towards just use, one name for everything, unless you have something really dichotomous like that. Just because social media makes it so hard to hide the truth.
If you only have one name, it figures in more easily when you do your taxes at the end of the year too.
That's true too.
That's,
Keeping track of your income that way.
any other questions?